The globally famous VR game that had dominated the entire world suddenly announced its server shutdown. And while everyone else was desperately selling their equipment and cashing out their accounts, I actually sold my house and took loans just to recharge more money into the game. Everyone around me thought I had gone completely insane, but only I knew the truth. The moment the game truly shut down, the entire world would change forever. Everything inside the game would invade reality. The monsters, the disasters, even the god-level creatures from the late game would descend upon Earth, and the players who kept their game characters would inherit all the abilities and powers from inside the game. In my previous life, I had no choice but to face reality, so I sold my account to recover some money. But when the apocalypse finally arrived, I didn't even survive half a day. As the countdown toward the server shutdown continued, I made my final phone call. It was to my in-game girlfriend, Sue Wanting. At that time, I only hoped that in our next life, we could still meet again. But when I opened my eyes once more, I realized I had somehow traveled back to the time before the game shut down. And right now, I was actually talking to Sue Wanting on the phone again. Her familiar voice came through the call as she said, "What do you mean goodbye? You idiot, it's just a game shutting down. Worst case, we'll just play another game together. Besides, there's still half a month left before the servers close. I'm planning to stay until the very end. What about you?" I immediately replied, "I'm not selling my account." She sounded a little surprised before saying softly, "Honestly, selling it now wouldn't even get much money anyway, and besides, this game holds too many memories for me. I plan to stay online until the very last second before the servers close." Hearing the exact same answer from her as my previous life instantly confirmed that I had really traveled back in time. When I suddenly went silent, Sue Wanting asked in a disappointed tone, "Why aren't you saying anything? Don't tell me you really plan to sell your account?" To her, this game wasn't just a game. It was a beautiful memory, and I was the most important part of that memory, so hearing that I might leave before the final moments naturally made her upset. In my previous life, she really had been disappointed because of it, but when the monsters descended later, she still rushed over immediately to save me after inheriting her character's abilities. Sadly, I still died before surviving even half a day. Thinking about that, I smiled and told her, "Don't worry. Not only will I not sell my account, but I'll stay with you until the very end. Every dungeon we never cleared and every place we never explored, I'll take you there myself." Her voice instantly brightened as she happily asked, "Really? Then it's a promise." I smiled faintly and replied, "Yeah, it's a promise. I'm going to sleep now. You should rest early too, and tomorrow remember to take me farming like you promised." After hanging up the phone, I immediately opened the game forums. Just as expected, the entire place was filled with players cursing the developers and countless people desperately selling their equipment. I casually scrolled through the posts and quickly found huge numbers of players dumping gold coins. One post even said, 100,000 gold coins for sale. Cheap. Normally, as one of the biggest online games of the century, the game's currency used to exchange with real money at a 1-to-1 rate, but now it had already crashed to 1,000 to 1. But I knew this wasn't the right time to buy yet because the prices would fall even harder later. As I continued scrolling, one post immediately caught my attention. Mage God tier weapon, divine sealing staff, max enhancement, top tier artifact, on the entire server. Only 600,000. The moment I saw it, my eyes lit up because I was a mage myself. I was just about to buy it before realizing I didn't have enough money. But the next second, I reacted instantly. Tomorrow, I would sell my house. After all, once the game invaded reality, those tall buildings and expensive apartments would become meaningless in front of terrifying monsters. Without hesitation, I contacted a real estate agent immediately. Since my apartment was located in a valuable school district, buyers quickly reached out. One of them directly offered $3 million in cash, although contracts and agency procedures meant the deal could only be completed tomorrow at the fastest. But I wasn't worried because I still had many things left to do. The first thing was taking loans. Once monsters descended, who the hell would still repay debts? While the house was still under my name, I immediately filled in my homeowner information and personal details across countless loan apps. Very quickly, all the platforms approved my credit. After withdrawing everything, I gathered over $1 million, but even that wasn't enough. Then I contacted several underground lenders and used the house as collateral again, gaining another $1.6 million. After finishing all that, I called my classmate Zhang Pengzi. Before the server shutdown announcement, he had been one of the biggest item merchants in the game and had earned tens of millions through trading over the past 2.5 years. But this shutdown incident had completely ruined him. As soon as the call connected, I got straight to the point. "I'm calling because I can help you avoid losing too much money. Tell me honestly, can you get me 11 billion gold coins?" At current market prices, I'll buy all of it. Zhang Pengzi immediately cursed in shock. Holy crap, are you insane? Right now, everyone's desperately trying to find suckers to dump their stuff onto, and you actually want to buy everything? I calmly replied, don't worry about that. Also help me collect a full mage set, plus high-grade golden kitchen equipment and premium cooking materials. Didn't you also deal with fashion items before? Since costume prices have collapsed too, buy all of them for me too. And every enhancement stone on the market, buy as many as possible. I'll pay above market price. After hearing that, he finally sighed helplessly and said, all right, I got it. Log in later, and I'll transfer the gold and items to you first. Several hours later, I finally received all the equipment Zhang Pengzi had traded over to me. He even gifted me several rare outfits along the way, which were perfect presents for Su Wanting. By the time I logged into the game, it was already very late at night, and the first thing I saw was a message from Su Wanting. Linfeng, do you think this game has become completely boring now? In the past, you would never log in this late. If you don't want to keep playing anymore, I won't force you. Even if you want to switch to another game, I'll still play with you. We had known each other online for 2 years already, and even though we had never met in real life, she already felt like family to me. Reading her message made me smile helplessly. I didn't waste any more words and immediately replied, open your warehouse and come to me. I want to show you something. Then I sent her a team invitation and waited quietly near the storage area as Su Wanting finally joined the party and slowly walked toward the warehouse. The moment Su Wanting entered the warehouse, she immediately froze after seeing the massive pile of resources stacked everywhere. Her eyes widened in shock as she exclaimed, wow, so many pet eggs! And you even got the Mage God set? I smiled faintly and replied, the reason I logged in late today was because I went out to collect all this stuff. Right now, the market prices have completely collapsed. Things we couldn't afford before are now easy to buy. I already promised I'd stay with you until the very last second, so if we're going to play, then we should play properly. Once we finish gathering our equipment and become strong enough, I'll take you to clear the Twin Star Lake dungeon, and after that we'll go to the Heavenly Palace map together. The moment she heard that, she looked at me in disbelief and asked, wait, you said you bought equipment for me too? Don't tell me it's the Priest God set? I nodded calmly. Yeah, I already asked someone to help us collect everything. For now, we're not doing anything else. We'll focus completely on combining these pet eggs first. If we're lucky, we should be able to make 2 mythical grade pets. But Su Wanting immediately shook her head stubbornly and said, no, this is my dream too. I can't let you spend all the money alone. Right after she finished speaking, I suddenly heard my phone notification sound. When I opened it, I nearly choked because she had directly transferred 6 million to me. I stared blankly for a moment before laughing helplessly. We've known each other for so long, and only now I find out your pocket money alone is 6 million? What kind of rich family are you from? She only laughed softly, and I didn't ask any more questions. With Su Wanting's money, I could prepare even more things for what was coming next. But then I suddenly remembered my previous life. Back when the game invaded reality, Su Wanting had desperately rushed over to save me, yet she ended up facing a level 90 explosive spider monster alone as a priest. The fact she could even fight against a level 90 monster proved just how powerful her equipment had already been. In other words, even if I hadn't spent money on her this time, she still would have strengthened herself eventually. Thinking of that, I quickly sent another voice message to Zhang Pengzi. Keep buying pet eggs for me. I want every single one on the market. After collecting them all, combine them immediately. Zhang Pengzi replied cheerfully, understood. Looks like you're really going all in this time. Don't worry, however many there are, I'll buy them all for you. Not long afterward, more than 500 pet eggs arrived in my inventory. I immediately traded them to Su Wanting, and the two of us started combining them non-stop together. In New Era, pets were extremely powerful battle companions, but they had to perfectly match the owner's class in order to unleash their full strength. At the same time, creating high-level pets required absurdly expensive materials, which was exactly why top-tier pets were so rare in the game. 10 minutes later, Su Wanting suddenly spoke in the party chat. I'm done combining mine. If this had happened in the past, creating something worth 5 or 6 million would have made my heart race uncontrollably. But after experiencing death once already, there wasn't much left that could shake me anymore. Without hesitation, I directly opened the egg. As the dazzling light faded away, a massive dragon slowly appeared before us. Its back was covered with rows of fan-shaped flesh spikes, giving off an oppressive aura. It was an extremely defensive type pet that could absorb 80% of the damage its owner received. Honestly, it was already considered incredibly strong, but it still hadn't reached the level I truly wanted. Yet Su Wanting's eyes sparkled brightly as she excitedly shouted, "Ah, it's so cute! I love it!" Personally, this kind of defensive pet wasn't useful for me, but since Su Wanting liked it so much, giving it to her wasn't bad at all. After that, we continued opening more eggs together. Very soon, a rainbow-colored egg appeared in front of us, radiating such brilliant light that both of us instinctively closed our eyes again. At that moment, several players happened to pass through the usually empty warehouse area. One of them immediately shouted, "Boss, look! Someone's opening a rainbow egg!" Another player sneered and replied, "The servers are about to shut down and there are still idiots throwing money away?" Someone else laughed coldly and said, "Maybe it's some rich idiot. Mark him." The next second, I suddenly received a party invitation request, but it was immediately canceled afterward. The moment I saw that, I instantly realized what was happening. I had been targeted by PK players. Inside this game, there were no real-world laws restricting people. Those with dark hearts could kill players and steal equipment without consequences. They proudly called themselves gold hunters. I had absolutely no good feelings toward people like that. Deep inside, I silently hoped those idiots wouldn't provoke me later, because once I became strong enough, I would personally hunt them down and strip every piece of equipment off their bodies. Of course, right now my gear wasn't fully upgraded yet, and my pets still needed strengthening, so there was no way I'd leave the safety of the main city carelessly. Just then, the rainbow light finally disappeared completely, and the pet Sue Wanting summoned appeared before us. The moment I saw it clearly, even I was completely stunned. It was actually the fusion mythical beast Vermilion Bird. After reading its talent skills, I was honestly speechless, as expected of a mythical grade pet. Not only did it possess terrifying explosive damage, but it even had a rebirth ability that could completely reverse a losing battle. At that moment, a system notification suddenly popped up in the team chat. "Please select the ownership of this pet." Before I could even speak, Sue Wanting directly gave up all ownership rights to the Vermilion Bird, and smiled gently as she said, "The Vermilion Bird belongs to the Fire Mage system. It's perfect for your class, so you should keep it. In the future, you'll handle all the damage output, and I'll use my defensive pet to help you tank damage." Hearing those words, I stopped pretending to be polite and directly accepted the pet. The next moment, a world announcement exploded across the entire server. "Congratulations to player Lin Feng for obtaining the mythical grade unique server pet Vermilion Bird while opening a pet egg." The instant the announcement appeared, the previously silent world chat completely erupted. Some players screamed in disbelief, "No freaking way! The servers are about to close and someone still managed to pull a Vermilion Bird?" Others mocked us immediately. "What's the point? At most you can enjoy it for 10 more days. Total waste of money." But because this game was unbelievably realistic and had operated for such a long time, there were still many players like Sue Wanting who planned to stay until the final moment no matter what happened. I couldn't care less about the arguments in world chat because I still had far too many things left to do. Not long afterward, Zhang Pangzi sent me another batch of items. Inside were a full set of level 100 priest equipment, huge amounts of enhancement stones, talismans, world recipes, and many other rare materials. Every single one of those things would become priceless after the apocalypse arrived. After paying him, I immediately traded the priest equipment over to Su Wanting and told her, "Once we finish upgrading our gear, let's start farming treasure maps first." I already had my friend buy 200 treasure maps for us. After clearing them, maybe we can get divine beast eggs or evolution materials. Once our strength improves enough, we'll head straight to the Heavenly Palace. Su Wanting's voice instantly filled with excitement. "Really? Going to the Heavenly Palace has always been my dream." The Heavenly Palace was known as the hardest dungeon in all of New Era. In the past, only players who spent absurd amounts of money even had the qualifications to challenge it. Back then, only true god-tier players had the qualifications to clear the Heavenly Palace dungeon, but now I had already built a full divine setup by spending just a little over 1 million. After that, the two of us teleported away together. Originally, I wanted to avoid those gold hunters tracking me. But while farming treasure maps, I suddenly got incredibly excited because some of the items we obtained were unbelievably valuable not only inside the game, but even after reality changed in the future. After finishing all of that, I took Sue Wanting and cleared every single treasure map we had collected. All the divine beast eggs we obtained were immediately fed into our pets for evolution, and in just a short time, they evolved into terrifying creatures capable of rivaling level 70 boss monsters. Once everything was done, I suddenly told Sue Wanting, "Let's go to Tianyue City." She looked confused and asked, "Why there?" The reason was simple. Tianyue City belonged to a private territory, and my plan was to buy the entire city for myself. Once the game invaded reality, that city would become a perfect fortress. At that moment, the 10 billion gold coins I had Zhang Pangzi collect beforehand finally became useful. After negotiating with the previous city lord for quite a while, we finally completed the transaction for 8 billion gold coins. The moment I obtained the authority of City Lord, the very first thing I did was set Sue Wanting as the Vice City Lord. By the time we finished everything, it was already very late at night. After coaxing Sue Wanting to go sleep, I finally let out a long breath myself before quickly falling asleep too. Early the next morning, I was suddenly awakened by a phone call. After answering, I heard the voice of a strange middle-aged man. "Hello, is this Mr. Lin Feng? My name is Bai Hai Sheng. I'm the buyer of your apartment. I originally bought this place for my daughter to live in, but since she has never left home before, your city is completely unfamiliar to her. so I hope you won't move out for now. Please continue living there and help me take care of her for a while. Since I hadn't found another place to stay anyway, I immediately agreed. No problem. But deep down, I couldn't help feeling suspicious. This guy trusted me enough to leave his daughter with me so casually. Could it be because she was extremely ugly? What I didn't know was that after hanging up the phone, Bai Haisheng's daughter, Bai Shuyi, immediately ran excitedly to Su Wanting and shouted, "Everything's ready! Tomorrow, I'm definitely going to give Lin Feng a huge surprise." After the call ended, I didn't think too much about it and went back to sleep again. But before I could sleep for long, a loud knocking sound suddenly came from the door. Feeling annoyed, I lazily shouted, "The delivery was already picked up. You probably got the wrong address." As a shut-in, almost nobody ever visited me besides food delivery drivers. But then a girl's voice came from outside. "Excuse me, is this Lin Feng's house? I'm Bai Shuyi, Bai Haisheng's daughter." I instantly became dumbfounded. Wasn't she supposed to arrive tomorrow? When I checked the time, it was already 10 at night. Good lord, she came in the middle of the night. I quickly opened the door, and the moment I saw her, I froze completely. Standing outside wasn't some ugly dinosaur-looking girl at all. Instead, it was an unbelievably beautiful young woman. She had long black hair, delicate facial features, and a figure straight out of a movie. Seeing me stare blankly at her like an idiot, Bai Shuyi immediately looked a little unhappy and muttered softly, "No wonder Su Wanting said you'd react like this." I finally snapped back to reality and quickly invited her inside while awkwardly smiling. "It's already this late. Did you drive here yourself?" Bai Shuyi casually looked around the apartment while replying, "Yeah, I drove here myself." The moment I heard that, my eyes lit up. A family capable of casually buying a 3 million apartment in cash definitely owned expensive cars too. And expensive cars meant assets that could be mortgaged for even more money. Right now, the more money I had, the better. Just as I was secretly calculating things in my mind, Bai Shuyi suddenly asked, "Are you still playing New Era?" I nodded immediately. "Of course. Not only am I still playing, but I'm staying until the very last second before shutdown." Hearing that, she smiled brightly. What a coincidence. I plan to do the same. The moment the topic shifted to the game, the awkward atmosphere between us disappeared instantly. Bai Shuyi smiled proudly and said, "I'm a level 100 female warrior now. In the future, I'll definitely become a war god reincarnation." I laughed softly before replying, "Since you still play, want to join us for dungeons? I'm confident we can get first clear rewards on the new dungeons. The rewards are extremely good." Bai Shuyi rolled her eyes and said helplessly, "The game's about to shut down anyway. What's even the point of rewards now?" But then she suddenly narrowed her eyes at me and asked, "Lin Feng, don't tell me you really don't remember me. My in-game ID is Little Bird Yiren." The moment I heard that name, I instantly reacted. "Wait, you're Little Bird Yiren?" Finally, everything clicked in my head. Back when I first started playing New Era and was still a clueless newbie, Su Wanting used to bring me into teams all the time, and there was always another female player with her. That player was Little Bird Yiren. She and Su Wanting had played together for years. Later on, she became an elite PvP player who loved fighting. After getting into conflict with a small guild, she chose to leave our team so she wouldn't drag me and Su Wanting into trouble, eventually joining the Snowdrifting Thousand Miles Guild, where she later even became one of the guild elders. I had always imagined she was some cute little girl in real life, but after seeing Bai Shuyi standing in front of me now, I realized game YDs really couldn't be trusted. After that, the two of us joked around for a while before returning to our rooms to rest. Since we had once been teammates for a long time in-game and often messed around together, getting along with her felt surprisingly natural. But then I suddenly remembered something important. Considering Bai Shuyi and Su Wanting's relationship, didn't that mean Su Wanting had known about me selling the apartment from the very beginning? So I immediately sent Su Wanting a message. "You already knew about this?" About 10 minutes later, she finally replied, "I was taking a shower just now. Shuyi didn't make things difficult for you, right? So, having such a beautiful girl suddenly appear in your house? Are you happy? Surprised?" After that, she even added a cute little laughing emoji at the end of the message. At the end of her message, Su Wanting even added a shy little emoji. The moment I saw it, I immediately called her and laughed softly. "So that's why you gave me your entire secret savings account without hesitation." Seeing her reaction made me finally let out a sigh of relief. And after that, the two of us happily chatted for a long time. Even though we had only ever been an in-game couple and never met in real life, years of accompanying each other day and night had already made our relationship feel no different from real lovers. I gently told her, "A house can always be bought again in the future. Maybe after we get married someday, I'll buy you an even bigger and better one. Right now, I just want to make you happy and stay with you until the final moment of the game. I know the server shutting down hurts you a lot. You're just pretending not to show it." My words instantly moved Su Wanting deeply. Honestly, girls really were weak against this kind of thing, especially when I had literally sold my house just to accompany her in the game until the end. She replied shyly, "What do I do now? I think I've completely fallen for you." After chatting for a while longer, I finally told her I needed to sleep, but Su Wanting was so happy she couldn't sleep at all. Instead, she excitedly pulled Bai Shuyi into chatting with her and even told her everything about me selling my apartment just to play the game with her until shutdown. For ordinary people, selling a house to play a game that was about to close forever sounded completely insane, but for wealthy young girls like them, it felt unbelievably romantic. Every part of it screamed true love. Even Bai Shuyi, who usually had no interest in men at all, couldn't help sighing emotionally. Late-night gaming partners like me are completely unnecessary now that you found such a perfect boyfriend. Although she tried sounding casual, her tone still carried a slight trace of jealousy. But after Su Wanting finished chatting and went offline, Bai Shuyi immediately opened another chat window. The person she contacted was surprisingly the guild leader of Snow Drifting 1,000 Miles. Bai Shuyi quickly typed, "Guild leader, I investigated Lin Feng already. He doesn't seem to know any secret insider information. The reason he's investing so crazily into the game is because my good sister Su Wanting can't bear to part with it. So he wants to accompany her through the game's final days and explore every place together." The guild leader quickly replied, "Good work, Shuyi. Try getting more information from him. If you discover anything unusual, report it immediately." Bai Shuyi replied obediently, "Understood, guild leader. I'm going to sleep first." After putting down her phone, she instantly collapsed onto the bed. Driving for several hours had already exhausted her completely. On the other side, I couldn't sleep at all anymore, because tomorrow, New Era would officially release the final shutdown announcement. Once that happened, prices would crash to their absolute lowest point, and I needed to use Bai Shuyi's luxury car to secure another huge amount of money as quickly as possible. More importantly, I couldn't let anyone notice my real intentions. After everything I had done recently, I knew certain people inside the game were already secretly watching me. The next morning at 8 o'clock, sunlight poured into the living room as I placed breakfast in front of Bai Shuyi. At almost the same moment, the official website finally released the announcement that completely shattered every player's remaining hope. The content of the announcement was even more ruthless than expected. The officials claimed that the game's core energy support came from outer space channels that were now close to exhaustion. Not only could they no longer maintain the game's operation, but they had also spent 5 years unsuccessfully trying to develop a replacement system for Blue Star. In other words, they were officially declaring that every player account and every god-tier piece of equipment had become worthless trash overnight. The forums and official website instantly exploded into chaos. Players who couldn't accept reality began launching mass protest events. Some smashed their legendary weapons on live streams, while others burned rare materials and destroyed their accounts in rage, trying to use this method to protest against the developers. But in my eyes, all those items they called useless data would become divine artifacts capable of saving lives half a month later. Right now was the best harvesting opportunity possible. Without hesitation, I immediately called Zhang Pangzi again. At this point, gold prices had already completely collapsed. 100 million gold coins now cost only 1,000 yuan. Suppressing my excitement, I coldly ordered him, "Buy me another 100 billion gold coins immediately. However much exists on the market, buy all of it. Also sweep up every top-tier crafting material, enhancement crystal, treasure item, and rare manual available at the lowest prices." Zhang Pangzi desperately questioned me about whether I had insider information, but I only calmly replied, "There's no insider information, but if you trust me, then hold onto your account and stockpile as many life-saving resources as possible." After hanging up the call, I looked at the endless flood of account deletion videos and weapon destruction streams on my screen, and a cold smile slowly appeared on my face. But the moment I raised my head, I realized Bai Shuyi had been staring at me the entire time. Clearly, she had heard every single word about me crazily buying however much exists. At that moment, I knew very well that my abnormal actions had already attracted attention from multiple forces, especially from Bai Shuyi herself. Although she was an old gaming friend, and also Su Wanting's close real-life companion, she still couldn't understand me at all. In her eyes, no normal man would continue recklessly throwing money into a game that had already been sentenced to death just because of some memories with his in-game girlfriend. To her, I was either completely insane or had my brain burned away by obsession. She stared directly into my eyes before asking seriously, "Lin Feng, tell me honestly, are you secretly involved in something illegal? Or are you really planning to sacrifice your entire future just for Su Wanting's memories in this game?" I didn't explain anything, and casually lied instead. "I'm just gambling that the developers will eventually give compensation after public pressure becomes too big." Bai Shuyi obviously didn't believe a single word, but after seeing the determination in my expression, the anger in her eyes slowly softened into pity. She sighed helplessly before saying, "If you really lose everything because of this and can't even afford food later, I'll still help support you for a while. For the sake of our past friendship, I can even ask my family to lend you money if things become truly hopeless." Hearing those words made my heart warm slightly. I looked at the girl in front of me and silently thought to myself, "You silly girl. Half a month from now, money won't even be worth toilet paper anymore. The only things that truly matter are the materials and resources I'm collecting right now. Those are the real tickets that will let us survive when the apocalypse begins."